Welcome back to Harmless Headcanons, and I told you guys what the source entity is in my DC Cinematic Universe. It is the White Lantern entity. White Lantern energy is source energy. It's the presence. It is life. It created the universe simply by existing. And so naturally, you guys probably are wondering, then what is anti-life in my DC Cinematic Universe? This is Uxas of New Genesis, but now he's known as Darkseid. After he and his twin brother Isaiah killed all of the old gods of New Genesis to bring peace to the planet, only they were left. And over billions of years living together in isolation, they watched as an entirely new sentient species evolved on New Genesis, the New Gods. Uxas and his brother were seen as deities to deities. And as the New Gods' power levels grew, nearly approaching their own, Uxas and Isaiah wondered what was it about their planet that was creating such powerful life. The brothers studied for centuries and eventually found it. The source, the presence, the White Lantern entity living in the core of their planet. But when they discovered it, it got scared and it ran away. Isaiah was inspired by this. He started a church, a scientific community to study this thing and to preach the gospel of life, that this thing just by existing creates life and that they're all part of it. But his brother saw the exact opposite. You see, while Uxas and Isaiah agreed that killing all of the old gods was the right thing to do because their parents were tyrannical monsters, as were the rest of the old gods, Uxas didn't make that decision from benevolence. He didn't want his power challenged. He was fine knowing that his twin brother was as powerful as him, but besides that, they were the two most powerful things in the universe. And now they found the presence. The thing that actually created the universe. A thing so powerful that it didn't even consciously create the universe. Reality is just a side effect of it existing. And he could not live with that. So while Isaiah took the role of Highfather in his new religion/scientific philosophy of studying life, Darkseid left the planet. Darkseid headed to New Genesis's moon, Apocalypse. He took his loyal following of new gods, started his own religion, and took the title Darkseid, dedicated to finding the antithesis of life. And for millions of years, this man sat and thought about nothing else. This man pondered the infinite void and infinite darkness. He thought, truly, what is the opposite of life? And while some might naturally think it's death, Darkseid didn't see it that way. Death is the end of life. Darkness isn't the opposite of light, it's the absence of it. If life is emotion, if life is creation, if life is existence and sentience and individuality, anti-life is the exact opposite of all of those things. And for millions of years, he thought about that and he worked out the anti-life equation until he solved it. And suddenly, Darkseid's consciousness connected to something. A void of darkness, an infinite darkness. For every bit as powerful as the White Lantern entity, the presence, the source is, this thing is just as powerful. As Darkseid's consciousness reached across this strange divide, the darkness reached back. But you see, if the White Lantern entity is an entity, and it can think, if it has any bit of sentience or thought or anything, then the void doesn't. And so what happens when a void, an infinite void of power and darkness, with no sentience or will of its own, is connected to a dark, evil sentience, a dark, evil will? It's very simple. The void became Darkseid, and Darkseid became the void. Darkseid solved the anti-life equation, and the answer to the question, what is the opposite of life? Darkseid is. And as he solved this, something happened. A ring formed on his finger. A black ring with an omega symbol. His symbol. Darkseid found that with this ring, he could now conjure other rings. He could force them onto people and strip them of their will and individuality and make them extensions of himself. Yes, in my DC Cinematic Universe, Darkseid is the head of the Black Lantern Corps. He eventually finds that his powers aren't limited to just living beings. beings. He could even raise the dead and force his will upon their corpses. And so Darkseid moved forward with this belief: live and serve Darkseid, or die and serve Darkseid.